Hey everyone, we are about T-minus 80 minutes away from Midsummer Nightmare, as they call it, TNA Impact Wrestling's free pay-per-view like show that they always do every year, obviously, when they dedicate one of the pay-per-views to one thing or another. And tonight's featured match is Sting versus Mr. Anderson for the World Heavyweight Championship. And you know, speaking of Sting, a lot of people have been talking about his whole Joker gimmick. I talked about this in an audio video that I did. And there's a lot of people, those from the PWI Torch, well, if you go to TV Tracks YouTube channel, the TV Tracks YouTube channel, you'll see a lot about this. And you'll probably hear about it on a lot of other sites. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people are asking the question, is it embarrassing for Sting to do this? You know, there have been people that have come out and they have buried Sting's Joker gimmick. People have said that Sting went from being sort of an Ultimate Warrior-like character, if you will, or being the inspiration for the Warrior or something like that, to being the Crow character, to sort of being in between the Crow character and the old Sting, the Ultimate Warrior-like Sting, to a Wolfpack Sting, to a kind of a tweener, heelish-like Sting, to now he's a Joker Sting. And a lot of people say they don't like it. A lot of people say they do like it. A lot of people say it's embarrassing. A lot of people find it intriguing. You know, honestly, I'm one of those that finds it intriguing. Yeah, I haven't watched Impact that much lately because it's like I said before one time in a video, it's sort of like the same thing over and over again that I saw 15 or something years ago with the NWO. You know, Immortals always in the ring, and they're dominating, just like the NWO did, blah, blah, blah. It's basically the same thing, but with what is known as the Russo twist. That's all it is. It's the same thing, but it has the Russo twist to it. And quite honestly, that is why I haven't been watching it much. I mean, yes, I have watched it now and again. I'm not denying that. Heck, I've downloaded an episode of Impact one time from June 23rd and I watched it. Yeah, we're seeing a different side of Sting. We're seeing a Joker-like Sting. But here's why. Many people have said this, many people have stuck by it, and many people will say it again. The reason we're seeing this Joker-like Sting is it's all an attempt to bring out Hulk Hogan red and yellow. In other words, the babyface Hulk Hogan. I mean, Hulk came out himself and said on a game channel, said in an interview with a game network, if you will, a video game channel on YouTube, that we might see a face turn. So what does this mean? Does this mean we're turning Sting heel? Maybe not. Maybe the reason for the face turn and Hogan going back to the red and yellow is to get Sting to stop. Maybe they're going to have Hogan come out and say, look, you're going too far. And maybe they'll have Sting say, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, well, the only way you can get me back to normal is be the old Hulk Hogan. Or if the old Hulk Hogan stops me. Or something like that. I mean, I know a lot of people are afraid that this is going to lead to a Sting-Hogan match at Bound for Glory, possibly for the world title. But we can't predict that just yet. I mean, yeah, we can predict Hogan and Sting, but we can't predict it being for the world title yet. You know, a lot of people are throwing out the scenarios that once this is all said and done, it's going to shift from Hogan, Bischoff, Sting, Joker, Sting scenario to eventually babyface Hogan versus Eric Bischoff and Immortal. Basically the storyline, basically the key component here is, if you are a true mark of this business, a true smark, if you will, as they call it, then you know that once in the storyline, once Hogan gets taken away from Immortal and becomes babyface Hogan again, then Immortal will slowly fall apart one by one by one, and that's it. You know, a lot of people are hoping and praying eventually, that Immortal does come to an end. I know that. I mean, when Immortal first began back in October, a lot of people looked at it like, oh no, NWO all over again. Why? You know, and they basically got the saying of, oh man, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You see, the only difference with the Immortal situation here is they don't wear t-shirts. You don't always see them wearing a t-shirt that says Immortal, everyone wearing it. No, they're just themselves. Yeah, it makes, some of its members don't really make sense, like Bully Ray. It doesn't make sense being in there and being pushed to the stratosphere. Scott Steiner doesn't make sense since he was brought in by Kurt Angle. Doesn't make any sense. But yet, here you are. Here you are. And again, this whole situation with Sting being the Joker Sting is due to the fact that it's not just a goal, storyline-wise, to get Hogan to go babyface and go against Bischoff, but it's a goal, storyline-wise, for Immortal to be disbanded and have each and every one of these wrestlers go their separate ways. Now, do I see a couple of babyface turns eventually down the line before Immortal disbands? Of course I do. Who doesn't? I mean, we had rumor that Jeff Jarrett's supposed to have a surprise tonight for Immortal. But what is that surprise? And will he be one of the first to turn face? No one really knows. Will Mr. Anderson go back to being a full face or a tweener, Austin-like character? No one really knows. Will Gunner end up turning face? No one really knows. You see, these are questions people want answered, and eventually we're going to get those answers. But again, this is where the Joker Sting comes into play. Despite how we feel about it, again, myself, I find it intriguing. The Joker Sting is basically the centerpiece, if you will. It's the centerpiece, as much as we hate to say it, as much as a lot of you hate to say it, it's the centerpiece in what many of you consider a disorganized puzzle, a disorganized chess piece, a disorganized game of Battleship, checkers, whatever you want to call it. It is the centerpiece. It is the centerpiece of that game board, of that checkerboard, chessboard, whatever you want to call it, of that battleship. It is the centerpiece. It is basically your main ship. Like if you're playing Battleship, it's your main ship right in the middle that you're trying to avoid from being sunk. That's what it is. It's the main centerpiece of the whole scenario. And it's the centerpiece that, as much as we hate to say it, is finally going to bring to an end Immortal, storyline-wise, Immortal, and get it out of there. It's the centerpiece that's going to finally turn, storyline-wise, Hulk Hogan babyface and have him go against Eric Bischoff. It's the centerpiece that eventually is going to get Eric Bischoff off of camera and behind the scenes for the rest of his career. And that's it. It is the centerpiece that's going to get everybody back, get the fans what they want back in TNA. You see, after Destination X, do not tell me for 1 second that fans won't want the six-sided ring back on a permanent basis. They will want it back. they will want it back. And they're probably going to get it back. So don't think for a second they don't want it, because they're going to get it. And that's where the whole Joker Sting is the centerpiece at. That's part of Joker Sting being part of the being the centerpiece of this whole scenario. He's the centerpiece, and his main goal, storyline-wise, is to bring Hogan in, bring Hogan back. He's the centerpiece. Hogan's the main goal. He's the centerpiece. Hogan's basically got to checkmate him to be the centerpiece, not on a full-time basis, but as a babyface that's against Bischoff and against Immortal. That's the thing. The Joker Sting situation right now is the centerpiece of the storyline. He's the centerpiece, and eventually he will be replaced, come Bound for Glory, by a new centerpiece, which will be Hogan versus Bischoff. And when it all comes to an end, when it's all said and done, these are the things that will happen. Hogan will be babyfaced again. Sting will be back to Sting. Okay? Sting will be back to Sting. The kind of the in-between Crow Sting being warrior-like Sting or whatever. That is what we're going to get. That's part of it. The other pieces will fall into place. The second piece that falls into place is Bischoff being against Hogan, Hogan versus Bischoff. That's the second piece that falls into place. And by that falling into place, the third piece falls into place, which is Immortal being disbanded. That's what's going to happen. And then the fourth and final piece that falls into place is Bischoff finally removed from television for good, storyline-wise, Immortal completely disbanded, and Hogan, believe it or not, giving power back to Dixie Carter. That's the whole situation. That's why the Joker Sting angle right now, the Joker Sting storyline angle, is the centerpiece of the whole situation. You know why? Because everything's going to, as much as people hate to admit it, everything revolves around that right now. And everything's going to come full circle around it. It's going to cause everything to go full circle, like I said. Everything's going to come full circle around it. And then before we all know it, TNA will be back sort of the way we wanted it, hopefully. In some ways, it'll be back to the way we want it. We might get the six-sided ring back on a permanent basis due to this, but most importantly, the situation is to get power back to the Carter family, to Dixie Carter storyline-wise. That is the whole situation. Again, do I see some babyface turns? Yes. One of the first babyface turns I see is Jeff Jarrett. As much as maybe some of you don't like to hear it, as much as the Schleg Daddy doesn't want to hear it, we're going to see a Jeff Jarrett babyface turn probably sooner than we expect. So, that's my thoughts on the whole Joker Sting character and the reasoning behind it. Again, he is the centerpiece in which everything's going to come full circle and everything's going to fall into place. That's just, as a fan, as a smart, if you will, that's just my opinion. You give me yours, comment down below. Have a good day.